Pylon listeners, we are back previewing Week 5 of the NFL. And we're going to go around here really quick, introducing the Pylon crew. So we got Barney with the Bears.
Bear down, fellas.
Then we got Remy with the Vikings of Minnesota.
The Seahawks may have the 12th man, but we got number 8, Kirk. Let's get it, Vikes. Go to the bowl.
And then we got Kinger with the Pack.
Nice carefree week ahead, boys. Just get to sit back, relax, and enjoy some football. I'll miss my Pack, but looking forward to checking out some other games this week.
And I'm Big Z representing the Lions, and Kinger, I'm with you in terms of it'll be nice for me to relax on the weekend with no Lions football to stress me out. Another one-score game that we blow at the end that just ruins my entire Sunday. So I'm looking forward to a peaceful Sunday this weekend for me. And you're going to miss some bliss with the 4-0 Pack taking a rest. But, man, so we got half the NFC North out of action, but there will only be one game on Sunday and one game on Thursday this week. So today, Thursday, when this podcast premieres. And that, of course, Barney, let's just dive into it. Tompa Bay is coming to Chicago. The Bears are 4.5-point underdogs to the 3-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The over-under is 43.5. How do you feel about Tom Brady and this Buccaneers team? Tom Brady coming off a 5-touchdown performance against a pretty decent Chargers defense, I want to say. But how do you think this is going to shape up?
I think this looks eerily similar to Week 4. Stop me if you heard this before, but a aging Hall of Fame quarterback under center and a ferocious front seven that ranks second in rush defense. I mean, this is almost the same team as the Colts. I think the Colts were the top rush defense. So should be pretty interesting. This game is definitely going to be won in the trenches on both sides of the ball. I'd say the keys to our victory, we just got to be better at blocking, both pass and run blocking. By the time Foles got his fingers on the laces last week, he was basically smothered by the Colts front seven. We need to make adjustments to overcome that because Shaq Barrett, Devin White, Donkey Kong Sue, and JPP, they're the same. I mean, there's not going to be much of a drop-off in talent from what the Colts had with Buckner, Leonard, and Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we got a tough task in front of us. I think our offensive line is one of the worst units in the NFL. So, I hope that they show up with their lunch pail and they go to work because they got to give a lot more effort than they did last week.
So how do the Bears scheme for that? The interior of Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh is playing really well for this Buccaneers team. So how are the Bears going to scheme around that? A lot of tosses, a lot of quick passes where they cut the defensive lineman. How are they going to counteract that?
Well, that's a good question. We got to get the ball out in a hurry, I think.
Oh, yeah.
If we're not able to open up holes like we did last week, last week we only had 28 yards rushing, right? So I don't think running in between the tackles is going to do a whole lot, but you can't abandon the run, right? You gotta put an effort in there to try to be balanced, try to keep the defense honest. But I don't think that the secondary is all that good in Tampa. They got a nice rookie, Winfield Jr. He's playing some solid ball, but I really don't think they're anything to write home about.
Minnesota fans are still crying at not drafted him, and I kick myself every day. I wanted this guy so bad, and we need him so bad. It hurts. It pains me. Make him look bad for me, Barney.
I would love that. But I guess in a way, we just kind of face this team, so hopefully we figured out a game plan, right, to scheme up and counteract their very similar defense. But defensively, I think all we got to do is just keep that pressure on the quarterback. Brady's not a guy who likes to break from the pocket. Mack and Quinn, they just got to really do a good job of setting the edge and Akeem Hicks collapsing from within. Brady's coming off one of his best games as a Buck, but he's still prone to mistakes. He has like 4 games or something like that in a row with like a pick 6 or something like that. He just threw some interceptions. He's got 2 on the year so far that been taken to the house. So, for some of our guys, our playmakers, Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller, our pass rush like Mack and Quinn, if they show up, I think there will be opportunities for us to make a stance defensively.
Kinger, do you want to throw something in there?
I just wanted to say, Barney, I love your comparison, though. I think that's a good evaluation of the Buccaneers and Colts being a very similar matchup to the Bears. Offensively, got to give the advantage, obviously, to the Bucs in that. But I think from a high level, I think that's a very good comparison. I don't know if you mentioned him or not. If I did, I zoned out, missed it. But you also got Shaquille Barrett out there, the NFL sack leader. Probably a little bit of a step up in pass rush than Indianapolis. Last week, you already stated the number 2 run defense. So if you're Matt Nagy and as you've already went off and kind of torched the Bears offensive line last week, really, where would you be looking to insinuate some changes? Effort's obviously got to be the number one thing, right? Effort and just hopefully, new week, new energy with the team.
I mean, we're talking about their probably biggest strength, and I know you hit on Mike Evans being a stud, and he's a problem for all defenses to face. But I think their biggest strength is probably the way they get after the quarterback or the way they collapse the pocket. And unfortunately for us, that's just our Achilles heel. So yeah, it's effort. In my opinion, Leno shouldn't even be out on the line. I'd say just go in with somebody else. But there's just we gotta. I mean, we don't even have to do a great job. We don't have to do a good job. We just can't do the same thing we did last week, and that was basically lose every battle, every play. I still think our offense has the potential to be good. Nothing special. But we have playmakers. I think Nick does a real good job of understanding what the defense is throwing at him, even when they're disguising their blitzes or their coverages. I think he can dissect what's zone and what's man relatively quickly from our previous guy. But we just got to have more life, man. We just got to have some more energy. I know our defense is going to go out there and they're going to do everything they can to keep the game under 20 points. I think that's just the strategy for our Bears D unit. We know that if a game gets, if they don't have their best performance, then it's going to be a tough one for our offense to keep up. But I mean, that's how we're built, right? So, as far as predictions go, a score, I'm still at home. I know we're a dog again. We laid an absolute egg last week. I can't see 8 straight quarters of just being absolutely bullied. So I'm going to give the Bears. I'm going to give them some fighting chance here. I think it's a really low scoring game. 17-14 Bears.
All right, Remy, go for it, man.
And no, I just had a quick question. So what's been up with Khalil Mack? What's he been doing? I haven't been hearing his name at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's because you're hearing guys like Akeem Hicks being one of the sack leaders, right? I mean, a defensive tackle who's a leader and a force to be reckoned with. Don't get me wrong, but he's no Aaron Donald, right? Like he shouldn't be up there. So they're completely game planning, basically saying
they're double teaming.
We're not just going to let Mac beat us. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that if the Bears defense gets us, it's not number 52.
I think Khalil's still been a pretty disruptive force, though. I saw a stat earlier today that I think he's one of 4 defenders right now, or 4 edge rushers with over 25% pass rush win rate right now. So he's still getting in the mix, although his numbers might, not be showing that right now. I think he's still overall been doing pretty well for the Bears. Would you agree, Barney?
Yeah, and another thing is he's got 2 sacks. He's got a strip sack fumble that both of them have been called back because a separate player, when he sacked them, came on in as a supportive tackle and went high or did something in a way to the quarterback to where it became a flag, right? So, I mean, those numbers aren't really exactly what max performance has been, but I guess you can make a case with a lot of guys in the league that way. So, I think as long as they continue to go against Mac, guys like Akeem Hicks and Roquan Smith, those are the guys that got to really put the pressure on somebody like Brady, who's not going to get out of the pocket and run, right? I mean, he's going to stay in there as much as he can. Sometimes he has little highlight reels where he gallops and he tries to run like a praying mantis out for a first down, but I mean that's far and few in between, right? So keep him in the pocket, collapse the pocket, and make him force some throws. And so far, some teams have been able to make him do that, and he's been prone to a lot of mistakes so far. So I will say, as far as an injury report goes, it's almost like the same thing. I don't know what it is with the Bears, but it seems like everyone's kind of injured leading up to a game with us. Right now, it says Mike Evans didn't participate Monday or Tuesday. I would be shocked if he doesn't play. I think he'll still play. But he's got an ankle injury. Leonard Fournette's going to be a game time decision. He hasn't practiced the last 2 days. He has an ankle injury. Chris Godwin's dealing with a hamstring issue. He's not practiced the last 2 days. I don't think he'll be playing, but they're leaving that up to game time. Rob Gronkowski's hurt with a shoulder. He had limited participation. O.J. Howard just did something bad to his Achilles. I don't know if he ruptured it or what, but he's out.
I'm pretty sure
he's on the IR.
I'm pretty sure he did rupture it.
Yeah, he's on the IR. Scotty Miller, one of their unsung little heroes. He's kind of like a Cole Beasley, Wes Welker type.
Tom Brady still found a little white receiver even in Tampa Bay.
He's amazing, man. But he's got a hip and a groin issue. He didn't practice the last 2 days. JPP, who I mentioned, he's got a knee injury. He didn't participate. So I don't think all these guys are going to be out. Like I said, I think Evans will be in. Fournette might be in. I would anticipate Gronk would be in. But as for Scotty Miller, JPP, I'm not really sure. But, we got to, as far as our injury report goes, none of our key players are going to be hurt. So we got to really take advantage of this and head into week 6 with a 4-1 record.
All right, Kinger, what is your prediction for this game?
I'm going to stick with the hot hands. I think the Bucs, although they were off to a slow start, I think there have been improvements. I like that front seven of Tampa's against the lowly Bears offensive line right now. I think it is relatively low scoring. I'm going to say 2014 Tampa Bay.
Remy.
Tom is pissed off, and I think he's going to leave pissed off. 24-20, Chicago.
Ooh.
All right.
And I would like to say the last time Tom faced the Bears, I know he has like a 5-0 record versus us, but the last time he faced us 2 years ago,
1 yard short.
He didn't do anything
Kevin White, right?
to put his team out there. Actually, Cordero Patterson returned a punt and a kick for touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
And Kevin White, he caught his pretty much only pass his entire career as a Bear, and it was a Hail Mary, but he caught it on the 1 yard line. So I think the Bears defense, this isn't a guy who we can't contain as in Tom Brady, but we got to go out there because he's never had weapons like this.
And I'm going to say 27-21 Tampa Bay. I don't think the Bears have enough offense to beat this Tampa Bay team. So let's move on to Sunday night now, Remy. The Vikings getting a Sunday night game in Seattle, 7-point underdogs. Going against Russell Wilson, the front runner for MVP right now for sure. And the over-under in this is 57.5, so not a lot of respect for the Vikings defense. How are you feeling about this one going into Sunday night?
And rightfully so. Rightfully so. You got, like you said, the favored MVP, top two. Points per game, Minnesota's getting about 26.5, and Seattle's getting 35.5. It seems like we've been playing the Seahawks forever, every year. And we lost to them in the infamous Blair Walsh botch, and then we lose to them again the following year, 21-7, and then we lost to them last year, and it was a close game, 30-37. You got to keep Russell contained. If Russell's contained, then he doesn't know what to do, and the pocket collapses. You get a sack. You let Russell roll out, and you got guys like Tyler Lockett who can just make a play out of anything, and that's what a downfall is, having rookie, non-experienced corners, and that's going to tear them apart. I don't think stopping the run is serious an issue, but you're going to have to get to the quarterback. And, I mean, in my opinion, if we play like we play, we put points up on the board, Jefferson and Dalvin and Thielen are our point guys, I would say that it would have to go 37-30, just reverse the scores from last year, and the Vikings are going to take this one, and we'll be 2-3.
And it's just funny that you mentioned Russell Wilson keeping him in the pocket, but actually right now he's averaging 23.8 yards per game rushing, which is 8 yards below his career average. So he's doing it from the pocket this year, man, and a lot of that has to do with the receivers like Lockett and Metcalf. Do you have any confidence that the Vikings cornerbacks can stop this passing attack?
If Jeff Gladney or Holton Hill cannot allow DK Metcalf a touchdown, I will have respect for Vikings secondary. Otherwise, I expect this to be a shootout. A fumbled snap, running back, Dalvin fumbles or Russ fumbles at the line and the Vikings recover. It will come down to something like a possession that's botched or fumbled, or a punt that's muffed or something like that. It's going to be one of those games where it's a shootout. Bet the over.
Bet the over? Yeah, the over is hitting like crazy like this year. I think it's over. It's easily over 60%. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's killing it right now through 4 weeks still. I'm trying to look up. Yeah, so Seattle has the number one rush defense right now, Remy. Does that worry you at all? The Vikings' number one rush offense against this number one rush defense.
It does, because if you've watched the Vikings games, and Viking fans, you guys will know what I'm talking about. The first 15 scripted plays, first down, run, second down, run, third down, dump off for 2 yards, punt. Or it's just so predictable. So if they're shutting the run game early, you got to figure out a way to utilize your screens. I talk about this every podcast. Gary Kubiak is known for his infamous tight end screens. Gary, where are they at? We have Irv Smith Jr., who was drafted in the second round of last year. Use him. He's quick. He can catch. You have Kyle Rudolph, who ranks among the top for touchdowns, and Rudolph, the end zone reindeer. And you've gotta use these weapons and screens and different formations if you can't get the run game to work. Have Kirk go play action and just bomb it deep to Jefferson and Thielen every time. It seems to be working. Your O-line has to protect Kirk, otherwise he's not very good under pressure and will either be sacked, fumbled, or he might just throw a dummy interception. So yeah, I do think, however, it does come down to Minnesota last week forced a fumble recovery and got it, and I do think maybe special teams plays a factor, and we take the win at 37-30.
37-30. All right, that sounds like an entertaining game. Kinger, how do you feel about this Sunday night game for the Vikings?
Another game where I'm going with the hot hands. Seattle has been extremely impressed with me thus far this season. Minnesota coming off a win against a not very good Texans team. I don't think too much has changed. Still expect them to try and run the ball. Seattle's defense has been very good at stopping it so far. We'll see what kind of night Kirk Cousins has. I like the Vikings to keep it close, but I'm going to go 27-23 Seattle.
Barney.
I think this is a bad matchup for Minnesota here, but I mean, I think Seattle's a bad matchup for most teams in the league. That, like you said, one of the number one rush defense. If the Vikings can't run the ball and run it well, their offense sputters. And just to pair that with, I think Tyler Lockett is criminally underrated. I think he might be a top 10 wide receiver in the league. He is so shifty. I think he's kind of like Randall Cobb when Randall Cobb was in his prime, but he's better. He finds little soft spots and zones. And as far as keeping a play alive and not being able to cover somebody after their first initial route, Russell Wilson is one of the best at keeping a play alive, and I think their connection is better than any connection in the whole NFL. Then you pair that with DK Metcalf and the Vikings' young secondary. It would have to be big days by the safeties for the Vikings to stay in this. I go 31-23 Seattle.
And I think Tyler Lockett, Barney, has and him and Russell Wilson have a crazy amount of these throw and catches that have they have the stats now, the advanced stats where they have catch percentage and stuff like that, and they're continuously completing catches that have less than 10% chance of being caught. It's just a combination of him being in the right spot and Russell Wilson just placing dimes all over the place. It's insane. I think last year they had the hardest catch ever recorded by a StatCast even last year. Kinger, did you have something to add to that? It looked like you wanted to add something.
Oh, I was just shaking my head in agreement, man. That's exactly. I was going to make a comment on that earlier. You talk about DK Metcalf being the one that's going to propose the biggest problem to Minnesota defense. I think it's going to be Lockett. He's a possession machine, absolutely criminally underrated, and expect him to have a good night.
Yeah, Remy, would you say the Vikings so far have had a hard time guarding big wide receivers or small, shifty guys this year so far?
Fast wide receivers.
All the above.
Burned every time. Yeah, of course, all of the above. I mean,
fair enough.
Essentially, this is week 1 of the real season. You've had 4 games to get your rookies in and have snaps, as I look at it, because that's what it is. And now here's the real thing. The rookies have to realize that they've had 4 weeks. Get it together. And I say that as a frustrated Viking fan who knows this team can have potential and win the games they should win. It's just the rookies got to understand that in order to do that, you have to perform and you have to be great. And unfortunately, the one thing you can't control is injuries. So Mike Zimmer deals with adversity every year. Here's one to add to the notch in his bedpost.
Yeah, no, just a little on DK Metcalf. He just reminds me of a way less skilled Calvin Johnson. He definitely has the size and the kind of the speed. He definitely doesn't have the skill those tight catches along the sideline or anything like that. But just in terms of the overpowering size and speed and match up against guys downfield, it definitely reminds me a lot about him. And I just don't think the Vikings have.
I imagine he matches up against Cam Dantzler. Cam Dantzler's going to be on the injury list every week, but he still plays. It's with his ribs. He's 6'2", so he's got some height and he's got some speed on him. So Cam Dantzler is with Mike Hughes being out. Cam Dantzler has been our 3rd round pick, has been guarding the number 1 receivers, and then Holton Hill will be guarding the number 2, or they flip flop back and forth. And Holton Hill was a 5th stringer last year, 4th stringer last year. So it's just crazy how you just have these very raw and thin D-back core, and we're watching it get exposed, and we're watching it, quite frankly, if they can get it done this week, get better and better.
Yeah. So I just don't think the Vikings have enough defensively to match up with the
After all that,
Seahawks
yeah, right.
in this game. So I'm going to go 34-20 for Seattle in this one.
I'm gonna prove you all wrong. I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna wear my new Viking hat, jersey. It'll be a nice Sunday for me, fellas.
Sounds beautiful for you, Remy. Sounds beautiful. But since we don't have the Packers and Lions, what we're gonna do to replace talking about those games is we're gonna go around. We're 4 weeks through the season, so we have 75% left to go, and we're gonna just do a quick go around here and just give little updates on our predictions for the season from our preview one before the season started, and now we're just gonna give a little bit of update here now. So Barney, I want to start with you because I don't know if a lot of people expected the Bears to be at 3-1. Maybe you probably did, but I don't know if you expected the way they got there, perhaps. But nonetheless, what did you have the Bears at before the season, and then what do you have them predicted to go the rest of the way here?
Yeah, so this actually opened up exactly how I thought, at least win total wise. I always pegged the Colts having a really good defense, at least in the offseason. I thought that was going to be our first blemish with the Lions, opening up the Lions, the Giants, and the Falcons. I thought we were going to win those games. But I said 11-5 to start, and I still, that's a very optimistic outlook on this, but I'm looking at the schedule. We got Tampa Bay. They're still, they just came off one of their best offensive games, but they're still gelling. They have some of their key guys out. We got Carolina next week. We got Houston. We got the Vikings twice. We got the Lions again. We got the Jaguars. I still like that, but I might tail it back to 10-6. I could totally see our team. If we went 10-6, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
So 10-6 is your new updated prediction.
It's still more like, but I'll go 11-5 just to piss you guys off.
And 11-5 wins the division?
Might not win the division, but definitely playoffs.
All right. So let's go to the first place team then. Kinger, you're on the bye week here. You a lot more time to ponder this one perhaps, but how do you have the Packers going the rest of the way here? No losses yet. Do you see any?
I think it would be a little ignorant to say that I don't see any losses on the schedule. As Barney always likes to say, it's a long schedule. And before I just dive into the Packers real quick, I want to say that I will admit right now that I was low on the Bears at the beginning of the season with the 6-10 last place finish in the NFC North. I just want to make a comment that I could see how the Bears could get 10 wins. So I want to admit my fault, my wrong on that so far. But back to the Packers. I couldn't be happier through 4 weeks. Year 2 in the system, Matt LaFleur's system for Rodgers has proven to be extremely successful thus far. It looks like they're gelling completely. He's loving the offense. LaFleur's putting him in positions to be successful, really no matter what the personnel, as they've proven thus far. I thought the schedule was going to be a little bit more difficult going into the season. I harped on it pretty heavily in our preseason podcast about how difficult I thought Green Bay's schedule was going to be. I saw a stat today. I think Green Bay actually, by records of opponents, they've actually got a top 4 or 5 easiest schedule in the remainder for the remainder of the season. So a little bit easier than anticipated. Still some tough games in there at Tampa, at New Orleans, at San Francisco, which has always historically been a problem for us. Still have to go to Indianapolis. So there is some potential. There's going to be some tough games still on the schedule. The 11-5 prediction is still very strong. I could see us finding a way 13-3. I'm just going to bump it one game right now, go 12-4. I'm very impressed with how Green Bay's looked through a quarter of the season.
All right. I'll take the next one here. So I think I had the Lions at 11-5. So I'm just going to run you through it really quick, and I'm just going to give my quick predictions for the upcoming game. So we're at Jaguars. I think that's a win. Falcons, that's a win. Against the Colts at home, the Colts are a tough team. I'll take the loss on that one. Then Vikings, I think we win. Washington, we're at home against, win. At Panthers, win. Texans, win. At Bears, the Lions are not losing the Bears twice this year. Not this Bears team. Win. Packers, I think that's a loss. At Titans, I'll give that a loss. The Buccaneers, actually, I think the Lions match up well with their weak secondary. And then the Vikings at home. So I still have the Lions going 10-6 for the rest of the season here. I just tell you how I feel about the rest of the way, and I just laid it out for you.
2 days ago, you were calling for Patricia's firing, and now we're going 10-6, and the Lions are going to make the playoffs, and Matt Patricia is going to be signed to a long-term deal.
Was I calling for it? No, I don't know. I don't think I was. I wasn't calling for it.
That was probably a little overstatement.
Big Z.
But yeah, I wasn't definitely happy, but a couple days, a nice little bye week, everybody gets healthy. I'm still optimistic. I drink the Kool-Aid a little bit with my Lions, so I'm at 10-6, and that's gonna be for a wild card, not a division win, unfortunately. Yeah, what do you got, Remy? What do you got?
So, hold my beer real quick. You were down on your team. Well, look at me, Mr. I think I predicted just to be outlandish 12 or 13 wins. Realistically, I said it in the chat, but I'm even maybe taking a step back to be realistic and saying Minnesota's at 9-7, but to piss you guys off at 10-6, and we're fighting for that division with the Bears.
All right. Wait, do you think 10-6 is going to win the division against the Bears?
I think it means
comes down to divisional matchups.
Wild card.
Wild card.
I gotcha.
Card. Sorry, yeah.
So wait, your realistic prediction, Remy, for the Vikings is 9-7, but an optim
for the sake of pissing you guys off, 10-6. Yes.
So you're rolling with 10-6.
The back half of our schedule is smooth sailing all indoors. Let's just hope our rookies can live up to it.
Oh, man. Now, wait, who do the Vikings? So the Vikings are at the Bears. They're home again. They have 3 straight home games in late November. Cowboys, Panthers, Jaguars. That's a good stretch for them right there. They still have to go to New Orleans. They still had to go to Tampa Bay. They still have to play the Packers again. They're at the Seahawks this week. I see at least 4 losses on there. So I
shock the nation, Big Z. You wait for it. You wait for Sunday night. I'm gonna come on the podcast. I already told you what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be great.
We all heard you, man. All right. So that's our updated predictions for the rest of the seasons for weeks 5 on. But now we're gonna get to the last segment, and that is best bets. So, Barney, I'm going to throw it over to you to really give us a quick update here on the best bets. How do we do last week?
Ooh, fellas.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say everyone did bad, but I still went 2-1 to give us a little saving grace here, but not a good week. Kanger and Remy. Ugh. 0-2-1.
First bad week.
That was the first bad week. Hey, and to all of our credits, that was our first bad week. We never really had anything like this. Big Z, you're in second with 1 and 2. So, it was just a one we took on the chin, but that's why we get back out there and we dust it off and we get back and get some more wins. Every loss is your next closest one to a victory, right?
Damn straight. That's a great attitude right there, Barney.
I like a few games this week. It was hard for me to narrow it down to 3 games. It killed me when you said the Chicago Bears line moved all the way to 4.5 or something like that. I think this morning it was at 6. So I like that, but I won't take that. My first game will be Pitt -7 hosting Philly. Philly's really banged up right now. I think Pitt has one of the best defenses in the game. Carson Wentz has like an outrageously bad record on the road. I think Pitt getting back Deontay Johnson and rolling after basically a bye week due to COVID, right? I think they go out there and they put up more than a touchdown on Philly. I think that front seven is a little too much to handle for Philly's beaten, battered offensive line. The next game I like is Indianapolis. I'm going with the team that just thumped me, right? Indianapolis -1.5 at Cleveland. Chubb just went down, got a little hurt. They have a really strong offensive line there in Cleveland, but I think Indianapolis showed that they can really bang it, in between the tackles and put a offensive coordinator on the fritz here. So I think the Colts win this game outright. I think it's a lot more than 1.5 points. So the Colts -1.5 is my next game. And then I think the Bears line for the over-under is 44.5. Is that right?
I'd see 43.5 right now.
43.5. On my bookie, it says 44.
Yeah, I mean it's different wherever you look.
Yeah,
I'm looking on Bet Rivers,
I'm gonna
FanDuel,
take
44.
the under. I think it's a low-scoring game. I think the Bears condense Tom Brady, and I think the Bears condense themselves on offense. So I think that is a under at play at 44.5.
If it's at 43.5, do you take it?
Yeah, I'd still take it.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Barney's bets right there. Let's go over to you, Remy. How you feeling about your bets this week? You get turn around?
Good, yeah. I will redeem thyself. And it starts off with the upset, one of the upsets of the week. Tennessee +8.5 over Buffalo. Derrick Henry is going to run all over them, and Tennessee's going to come away with that victory. And then we go on and we move on to a more obvious game, and I am taking the over in this.
Remy, just really quick, there is a caveat with that because we don't know if that game will be played. So, but if it does, yeah.
Oh, was that?
Just because yesterday was the first day that the Titans didn't have a positive test in a week, so that game's still up in the air. So some people might not be able to find that line until late on Sunday if we don't know what's going on.
Very
true. Continue. Just
I
wanted to throw that out.
If it does get played, I'm taking Tennessee. Would you like me to pick another new team, or just
no? Just keep going.
So the second one is just the obvious one. I like Kansas City over Las Vegas, and I'm taking the over that.
So 56.5, right?
Yep, correct. 56.5. And then third game I really like, obviously San Francisco over Miami at -8.
Obviously. It's obvious.
Obviously.
All right, Remy. All right, Kinger, what do you got for your best bets this week?
So it seems to be in typical fashion. Barney and I seem to be going against each other on a couple of these bets on a week-to-week basis. So Barney's also using, his performance based on the Colts, taking the Colts this week based on their performance last week. I'm going to take the other side of that game. My dumb brain works where I got completely burned by the Browns last week, and I thought the Cowboys were going to absolutely steamroll them. That turned out to be not the case at all. The Browns looked excellent. Barney mentioned that offensive line. I saw something today. It's the second-rated run blocking line in football right now, also towards the top in football or in pass blocking as well. I still am not a believer in the Colts offense. The offensive line is good. I think the Browns cover the 2 points versus Indianapolis this week. I am also in on that Steelers-Eagles game. I'm going to take the under in that one. I don't think Philly's offense is very good, and the Steelers off that bye week, or I guess the fake or the spontaneous bye week, I guess, for COVID. I think they're going to come out a little lackluster. I saw the over under at 44. I'm going to take the under in that one. And then the last game, I'm feeling a little frisky with it. I like another underdog. I like Joey Burrow and the Bengals to cover the 13 points versus the Ravens this week. I think Burrow's, the first rookie with 3 straight 300-yard games, I think was another stat I saw this week. The offense seems to be flowing. And I think Baltimore, this is a game sneakily that I think Cincinnati's in. So I'm going to take Cincinnati +13 this week as well.
All right. And I actually, so kind of rolling into my picks, I like Kinger's thoughts on the Browns as well. These are the offenses that the Colts have played so far this year. The Jaguars, the Vikings, the Jets, and the Bears. Arguably four of the worst offenses in the NFL, or it's at least the bottom 8 maybe. So I don't think they've really been tested at all. This Browns team is easily the best they're going to play. DeForest Buckner is really, really good. That's a hell of a pickup from the Colts. That's the only thing that worries me, but I think this Browns offensive line is legit. Jedrick Wills has been playing great for them, and Jack Conklin's been a great pickup for them. Odell Beckham looks like he's finally found a place in the Kevin Stefanski offense. Do you miss Kevin Stefanski at all, Remy? He's doing a great job so far with this Browns offense. Besides Week 1 against the Ravens.
Yeah, no, we miss Stefanski because you'll hear me say it 12 more times. He ran screens. No, he was and he was with the organization for like 13 years prior. So we miss Stefanski. We're glad he's doing well, but God damn it, we need his offensive mind on this team.
Yeah, Barney.
All right, so I got a question for you too then, taking the Browns here. Given the fact that OBJ definitely had his best game as a Brown, but you take away this game, or let alone just like that one run where he should have been tackled about 12 yards behind the line of scrimmage and turned into like a 50-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. If the Browns go on to lose that game to Dallas, do you think the line is more than 1.5, or do you think because they had such a great offensive day that it's this close? Because that's what I was fading when I saw into this, is Indianapolis didn't really have a great game versus us. It was 19-11, So it wasn't all that much about, anything that Indianapolis is doing that is keeping that game at 1.5. Whereas I thought I'm going to fade the Cleveland offense just from that awesome performance they had on Sunday. I don't know. I just want to hear your thoughts. I thought this was more of like a 3.5 point game, but that I thought the way they played, the Browns played on Sunday, that's what skewed it.
Kinger, you can take it first.
I wasn't a believer in the Browns offense, and I still feel maybe like I'm taking a little bit of too much have too much confidence in them at this point. But they've got 3 straight 30-point games. Yeah, that Odell play, again, it was really just horrible defense. I still refuse to believe that Dallas is that bad. They really impressed me. The offensive line's elite. Browns as underdogs at home, although that doesn't really matter. That was a game that was the first game that popped off the page to me this week.
Yeah, I think the Browns, it's just their run game. I'm in love with their run game right now. It's really strong. It doesn't even matter if Nick Chubb is hurt, honestly. If I'm at least a big believer in the Warren Sharp school of football, the way he thinks and about betting lines at least and such. And he talks about like running back value, and it's almost meaningless. Like look at the Panthers, for instance. They're 2-0 since McCaffrey got hurt. They haven't missed a beat. So missing a running back like that, it does hurt a little bit, but ultimately it doesn't really affect the line or anything like that. I think there's a lot of value here with the Browns as well. I think there's too much. I think it's the other way around, Barney. I think there's too much love for the Colts, and I think that's going to benefit. I think that benefits.
They have Kareem Hunt too. It's like they're not taking a big dip in talent. I mean, yeah, Chubb's elite, but Kareem Hunt's a very solid running back.
Yeah, I think no matter who they have back there, even if they still had Duke Johnson, I don't even know who their third stringer is, but behind that offensive line, Conklin, like you mentioned, they just grabbed him. Jedrick Wills off the draft. They have one of the best offensive lines. So that was the rushing game is not something that was ever gonna,
Yeah, D'Ernest Johnson is their third string running back, and he actually averaged 8 yards or 7.3 yards a carry in that last game against Dallas. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting. It's that game. Both teams, I think they stack up well in terms of offensive and defensive lines. So I would have to say it goes to whoever the hell wins that battle in the trench.
So let me get my last two picks in here. So I have Texans as 6-point favorites. I like that line. I'll take it to 6.5. I won't take it if it goes to 7, but 6.5 at least. But right now it's at 6. I like that one. I think they're being undervalued. I don't think that Jaguars team is good. I think there's still a lot of love for them from the first game beating the Colts, but that was week 1, a weird thing. But ultimately, I think that Jaguars defense is really bad. So I really like that matchup. And Romeo Crennel in his first game back has been actually really successful. This is his third time being an interim head coach. So he definitely has experience in that regard, and he's 2-0 in those games. So I like the Texans to pick up their first win and cover that 6-point spread. I think they're being a little undervalued there. And then I'm going to take the Seahawks as 7-point favorites on Sunday Night Football. Sorry, Remy, but I think that offense. I don't think that Vikings defense is good. One win is not going to change my opinion on that. So I just really like the way that team matches up. So those are my three. Those are my three best bets for the weekend. Those are all our best bets. So pick them up while you can before those lines change drastically on Sunday. But we'll be posting our best bets as well on Instagram going forward. Barney, you want to add one more thing before we wrap it up for the weekend?
Yeah, just I don't know he needs to hear this, but we're in a funny year right now, and with COVID, and a lot of without the preseason, a lot of injuries. So anything that we're putting out there, if you like it, grab it. If you don't absolutely love it, I'd say monitor it day to day up until game time, because those lines have been moving drastically from Tuesday when we pick them to game day. So if you like it, I'd say almost just watch it, see how it's being bet, and you might be able to steal even more points if you wait. So
all right. So thank you everybody for listening. This is the Pylon and NFC North podcast. Please follow us on Instagram at the Pylon. Please subscribe to this podcast. Please leave a review. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great weekend for Kinger, Barney, Remy, and Big Z. Enjoy your weekend. For the Packers and Lions fans, enjoy your bye week. Enjoy your Thursday night game and your Sunday night as well. And we'll be back to our normal scheduled times as well starting next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a good week.
Bear down.